Well, I wanted to get back to why you're in business. You're in business because you want to change people's lives somehow and help people. But if you're not willing to do the sales for that business, you're not going to have a business. It's the second most important thing you do. Um, so the difference is marketing is just getting your information out that you even exist, but that's not sales. So that's why they call it sales and marketing. Sales is the one-to-one conversation you have with people that may be interested in your product. But if you're not willing to talk to people, they're not going to buy. So you have to be as good at sales as you are at what you do. And I think that's the thing that we all fall down on. Having been in business for, almost 40 years, I'm great at what I do. My office is great at what they do. Our Saraset product is phenomenal at what it does, but we don't have anybody out there telling people about it and really selling it. So that's where the business fails. Well, actually, one of my biggest gifts was the truth. A guy that I was talking to says, you suck at sales. Says, you have turned me so off by how you've presented this that I am almost willing to run away. So that really was a shakeup for me. And what do I need to learn? Because I believe in my products so intensely on how it can help people. What do I need to learn to get it out there, to get it to people? So that's when I started searching for a different way to do what I'm doing. And I've had sales training in the past, and yeah, it didn't work for me. So I went searching for something else. And that really has changed how I approach people, how I talk to people. And, it's made a big difference in my numbers coming in. I'm doing a lot of marketing, but that marketing wasn't doing anything for me until I could talk to people in the right way. So, we all hear about the relationship. And for me, my way of building relationship was trying to connect with people by telling them about me. Well, that was silly, but, that's what I had been taught. So creating that relationship, and the more important thing you can do is just asking questions. Who are you talking to? What's important to them? And where'd my slides go? There it went. Discover their pain, but you have to go deeper than their surface pain that they're talking about. It's when somebody's telling you, well, I'm not getting enough sales. Well, what does that really mean to you? Does that, why do you want sales? Well, I want to get my product to people, or I want to get this information product out there. Well, why? Why does that person want that product, and what's that product really going to do for them? So you've got to get to their deepest pain. And I did this with a client the other day, and he actually said, his reason for coming in was anxiety and depression, OCD. And as I talked to him deeper, his OCD is so bad that he can't have a relationship with anybody because he's so afraid of catching something from them, so afraid that they have germs, all these different things. So that his loneliness is what's driving him. But if I'm just talking about his OCD, that's not going to get him what he needs. So you've got to get to that deep, deep part. We all think we need to talk about our product, and what we need to do is listen more and talk less so we can really find out how we can help them. And pre-qualifying our clients. How often do we have somebody who goes, yeah, I'm interested, and then we chase that person forever instead of really qualifying them and find out that they really aren't interested, or they don't have the money, or they're not willing to make the sacrifice, whatever it is, but we chase them instead of going and finding that next client. One of the biggest things I've learned is creating an upfront contract. So that upfront contract, when you're talking with someone that says, hey, I'm interested in what you do, it's like, do you have a few minutes to meet, figure out the time and place? What is the objective of that meeting? How long are you going to take? If somebody thinks you're going to take 3 hours to talk to you, they don't want to talk to you. Set up, do you have 15 minutes to discuss this? And let's find out if what I have to offer is really what you're looking for. Figure out that intended outcome up front. Have them buy into the contract all along the way with every step. This is one of my most fun ones, is that people lie. What do you tell the salesman when you walk into a store, or even, I bought a new car. What did I tell the salesman? Well, I'm beginning to think about looking. No, I was looking. I didn't want to be bugged by the salesman. I didn't want that high pressure sales. So when you're talking with somebody, probably their first 3 answers are not going to be the truth. You've got to keep asking questions to get to what their real reasons are for being there. Again, find out if they qualify for your product. Is their need matching what you do? More importantly, are they willing to pay the price for what your product is? And that price isn't just dollars and cents. That price is the time. We take time to spend with Jim. We take time to, for my process, it's not just the cost, it's, are you willing to do the follow-up things? That's all part of the qualification process. And if that client's not willing to do those things, if they're not willing to do the work, then they don't qualify. So you've got to figure that out early in the process rather than wasting your time on a client that doesn't qualify, or dig deeper and seeing if they're willing to qualify. And here's one of the big ones. We're all afraid of the money talk, okay? But it still gets down to, if somebody is looking at me and saying, oh yeah, they might drive a nice car, and I'm assuming they can afford my product, but we don't know what anybody else's story is. And we also look at the fact of, they drive a nice car, of course they can do our, handle our product, or they may drive a really junky car and we judge them on that and say, oh, they don't qualify, they can't afford it. And then find out that, yeah, they choose to drive that car, or it may be somebody else's car, and what you have is exactly what they need. So don't be afraid of that money talk. Get that out of the way early in the process. Don't be this guy. Learn how to sell and learn how to do it right. We all hate this guy, and we're afraid that, we don't want to portray that, so we don't want to be doing sales. There again, if you're not doing sales, you're not going to have clients. And so, actually, I know a guy that looks just like this. But learn how to do it and do it right. And actually, Sandler system is what changed my process. I'm not here to sell for Sandler, but it's the class I'm taking, and it has made a huge difference in my life. Number one, they work off this very streamlined process of building rapport, creating that upfront contract, discovering the pain, talking about the budget, making a decision. And you keep going, you do these in a very methodical way. You fulfill the process, and then you do a post sales. So you know what their process is, you fulfilled it, and you come back and see how else you can help them and make sure they're happy. So I am taking the Sandler training right now. I can tell you it's changed my bottom line in a very short period of time. If anybody would like to talk to me about it or visit one of our classes, we're having an open house on, I believe it's December 3rd. Matt is incredible. He's a lifelong sales person himself. And, it changed how he does business and his process. So that's kind of all I've got. But, think about your success in your business. And if you're fulfilling the sales part and doing it the best you can, or if you need help. I know Simona's got a huge amount of information for us, so I'm anxious to see what she has to say and how I can improve myself better. Because if you believe in you, if you believe in what you're putting out there and you're not getting all the people you want, it's probably because your sales process isn't as good as it can be. That's all I got, guys.
Thank you so much, Venice. That was fantastic. And it's such an honor to have you present and share what you've learned. So I'm just so grateful on behalf of everybody. I'd like to welcome.
I reached out on this because one of the things Jim said last week was we have to overcome the objections.
Yeah.
And that's what we've all been taught through all of our sales processes. And if you're getting enough information and doing it right first, that's already taken care of. So that's why I reached out.
Yes, and thank you so much. And I don't want to take up any more time, but I want to welcome a new member, Easy. I'm so glad you figured out how to join us today through the technical issues. Thank you, everybody, for dancing and jiving and moving and shaking to get here. I really appreciate it. So welcome, Easy. And Simone Constantin is one of the best salespeople I know. She does it with joy, with passion. And I think that's where we'd all love to go, improve our bottom line, but also have fun along the way. So you want to share your screen?
I'm actually just going to be talking to everybody.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, because so what I'm going to be talking about, thank you, Venice. That was awesome information. So I'm going to take it back even further for your initial meeting of people. So you go to these events and sometimes people are dressed for success. Sometimes they're not. I always suggest to people, if you've got a logo, wear whether it's a golf shirt or a nice shirt and have that logo on you, whether it's a hat, depending on your event. And this is some of the things that people miss out on because visualizations are so important. Doesn't matter what we're selling or who we're selling to. Secondly, people will go up to other people and they'll introduce themselves and they'll basically puke about their business. Either that or they'll ask them to get married before they've even started a relationship. So what I want to talk about is how do you introduce yourself? How do you make a new friend? And just give you some suggestions. So one thing I always suggest to everybody is don't walk up and say, hi, I'm Simone with Consumers Choice Awards, blah, 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 right? I like to kind of give people interesting statements. So I did write some of them down for you guys. And, I help kids develop into strong adults. So to me, instead of saying that versus I teach Taekwondo, people are going to ask questions. Well, how do you do that? Why do you, what do you do? So it's really important. Another one I'd written down is I help companies oil their knowledge so that they can become an all-rounded, smooth working machine. I don't know, I thought of Jim for that one. So it was just, it was just something that came to my mind. So if Jim said that to me, I'd be like, oh my God, what do you do? Like, what industry are you in? I'd ask questions, but then I would turn it back on Jim and I'd say, well, I'd love to explain to you more of what I do, but I prefer to help know what your business is and I want to help you. So get them talking and put your business aside, especially for the initial meeting, and then ask them, to go for a coffee, go for a lunch, go for what have you, and say, you know what, this week I'll give you a call. It's Wednesday, say, Don't call them Thursday morning. Don't sound like that desperate salesperson that I got to call you the very next day. I always say wait 48 hours. That's my rule of thumb, because after an event, you get bombarded with so many calls, so many emails, but yet you still want to be fresh in their brain, fresh the event. So I usually say 2 to 3 days is my rule of thumb, is when I call them back. And when I call them, once again, it's not about me. It's, hi, Venice. It was awesome meeting you 2 days ago at ABC event. I actually have someone that I feel would be a benefit to what you do. I'd love to get to coffee, go for coffee, discuss this other person that I've got a referral for you. And then when you go for coffee, make sure that the person that you've had the referral for, make sure you contact them, and that'll open up the floods of that door as well. So you're contacting them and you're saying, hey, Jim, I noticed that your signage out front is getting a little worn. I have this amazing contact for you. Would you mind if I shared your information with that person? So you could be doing this for months and months, because you're getting a contact for one person, you're having lunch with them, you're discussing their business, but then it always ends up coming back to you in a nice way and just helping them. But it's all, I always think of it this way. It's not about the money, it's about helping, and then the abundance will follow. So if you turn money into a positive versus just a word. So money, money can be ugly. People think of money in all different ways. Could be good, could be bad, could be scary. So something I've gotten taught just recently is I'd like everybody to write down what a friend means to them. So in 30 seconds or less, write down as many things you could think of as a friend to me is. Okay, so what I'd like to suggest to everybody is when you're doing your grateful statements or your thankful statements or whatever you do on a regular basis, describe a friend, and then at the end of that say, money is my friend. And repeat that to yourself at least 3 times. And you'd be amazed how when you say the word money, it starts having a totally different feeling for you. So that's really key with money, because when you talk to someone on the phone, you don't want to be thinking cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. You really want to be talking, basically like Ben has said, you want to be talking about the situation, the scenario, and make lots of notes. The biggest mistake, sorry.
Oh, no problem. I was just wondering if I can, Venice talked about the slimy salesperson, don't be this person. Many of us have, like in my childhood, my parents thought sales was bad and rich people were bad. And so I love this money is my friend and the writing down what does a true friend mean to us. And I think we can add, sales is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like Venice said, if we don't have any sales, we don't have any clients and we don't have any business.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for just letting me add that parallel.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And yeah, it's so important to say sales without sounding like a dirty word, right? That is so crucial. And I always say, don't think of it as a sale, think of it as helping somebody. And with helping somebody, the sale will come, the abundance will come, the knowledge will come. Another thing I'd like to point out is keeping notes. So when I talk to a client and so first of all, when I make the phone call, I always have a mirror beside me. So I've got a little tiny mirror and it's got, I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a little bit of motivation stickers, the beach, everything you guys get to enjoy that I have to wishful think right now. I have that mirror because when you're smiling, clients can feel your smile, when you're talking on the phone. And that's really crucial. So always be smiling, always be talking to them. First thing I always comes out of my mouth is, do you have a few minutes? I always ask them, do you have a few minutes? Because if they're in the middle of something, they're not hearing what you're saying anyways. So if they, say, no, I'm right in the middle of blah, 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 no problem. I'll call you back at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And I literally set myself a timer, or I put it on and at 1 o'clock, I'm calling them. And the same thing with if, we talk and going for coffee or what have you isn't good right now, let's do it in 6 weeks. I will mark that on my Google Doc right to the 6 weeks that I'm calling them back. And make tons of notes, everything from Johnny had a soccer game that day, so he couldn't talk to me. Their dog just went for shots, whatever they say or whatever reason that they give you, they can't talk right now, make a note of that. And when you bring that up in 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever the scenario is, they'll be blown away and impressed, because that way they know that you're actually listening to them and you took the time to listen to them. So again, it's building relationships, and getting on the phone, getting through the gatekeeper, getting to know the gatekeeper. A lot of people brush the person that answers the phone off. I've made those people some of my best friends, because as long as you've got the gatekeeper, so to speak, in your back pocket, you wouldn't believe the appointments you can book, the connections you make. And, Fred isn't interested in meeting you right now, but I know this other guy that would be phenomenal for, or needs this help or what have you. The people that answer the phone, male, female, whatever, they're the ones who have more contacts than the owners themselves, because they're the ones who have to deal with everybody that's coming in there, every appointment that's booked, everything. So I always say, if you're going to send flowers or you're going to do something, do it to the gatekeeper. You'll be blown away at how fast it gets you in the door. Promotional items, just want to touch quickly on that. Some people will send out promotional items, or they'll make promotional items, and they'll make tons of stuff, and they'll send out hundreds and hundreds, and then they'll wonder why, no one's calling them. The suggestion I always make to my clients is make 100 or 200 so you get that, that best rate possible, but send out 10 at a time. Send out 10 packages, introduce yourself, include that promotional item, then follow up with that 10, and again, whether it's the gatekeeper or the owner themselves, just want to make sure you got my package. Really appreciate you taking the time to open it, to look at it. Wanted to discuss if there's any way I could help your business grow. I might have some contacts, or I will have some contacts for you. So it's a really soft sale. And then that way you can keep track of those 10. When you send out 100, and by the time you get down to 15 or 20, that package has either disappeared in the garbage, or they have no idea what you're talking about. So it's all, it's a time thing, whether you're doing items, whether you're doing emails, whether you're making phone calls. The number one suggestion I always give to people is, I like Google Docs, but have a system where you're keeping track of that, because there's nothing worse than having a possible sale and 3 months you don't call, 6 months goes by and you call and they've already made a sale with somebody else that does the same thing because you didn't follow up. So follow up is key. So yeah, I think that's about it for today, because like I say, I get really passionate, so I could, like Jim said, I could talk for hours and hours about sales. So thank you guys. I hope you get at least one tip out of there.
Simone, that was incredible. Just the way you presented, the way it flowed, and the significance of the information in a short period of time. Anybody have any questions for Simone or Venice?
What was the
Just
question?
loved the image with the mirror with all the motivational images on there. I thought that was really great.
Yeah, they're both all great tips. I think I do have a question for Venice. You're talking about, are they are they willing to do the work? Like, are they willing to spend the time? And Sarah said, and it comes to mind for myself because sometimes I use my machine and sometimes I don't. And I know that sometimes I should be using it. It's like sometimes I don't use my skincare at night. I know I should be. And so it's like I'm in a hurry to go to sleep or I'm in a hurry to dash out the door. And so I think sometimes we have good intentions, but we, speaking for myself, I know I fall through the cracks.
I think that's true for all of us, no matter what it is, and it's, hey, I've got the machine by my bed too, and sometimes I use it and sometimes I don't, and we can't beat ourselves up when we don't. But when we're talking with a client, we need to get some sort of commitment from them that, yes, I'm willing to do what it takes to make this happen, whatever our product is. Because if they're not willing to do the work, then they're going to come back to us later and go, well, this didn't work, but it's because they didn't do the work. So getting that upfront commitment from them that, they're going to do it, whether they follow through or not, that's on them.
True.
But,
true.
You still got to have that upfront commitment or you're going to have somebody come back and go, your stuff didn't work, but it's still in my drawer and I haven't opened the tube.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Venice, I love how you in your presentation really talked about the meeting expectations and a contract. And it really relates to Claudia's question. And what I want to add to that is a couple of things that'll reinforce one of Simone's points as well. A sale is not over when you get the money.
Mm-mm.
So people are going to have buyer's remorse. They're going to, not do what their part is and then claim that your business or whatever service product didn't work. So that's where Simone's point about, helping will lead to the abundance. It'll lead to repeat sales. It'll lead to them getting the actual results. So Claudia, as an example, checking in, hey, how's your lash boost working? Or are you using your skin cream every night? Just want to encourage you. I'm not, being your mom or anything, but I know these products work and they're awesome. And you were so excited about getting these results and feeling the confidence. And so you go back to the results, the benefits, and then what do they need to do to get those results? So it's an opportunity for more touch points on a regular basis. And that builds trust and it builds a relationship. And that's what builds business ultimately. Yeah, Simone, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've always been taught that after a sale, you should have 3 to 11 touches within a year. And that's really crucial because of the fact that, again, are they really using their products? I've gone to companies where the dust is on top of the box of the logos, but yet nothing happened last year. And it was like, that was nobody's fault but my own. So I've learned from that error, did you get your logos? Have you used them? How are you using? We actually wrote a whole script on how to use a logo, because when we're doing a sales presentation, it's natural for us, but a client, even if they buy it within a week or so, everything you said, except for I think it's 5%, goes out of their brain. So that's where you want to you're basically reselling a product that you've already sold, but it gives them, it reinstates for them. And don't give up. My longest time frame without a sale to one of my winners and then making the sales is 8.5 years. 8 years of calling him, saying exactly when I was going to call him. And then in the 8th year, I called him and I'm like, just jokingly, how's so-and-so, how's their soccer game, and just do my due diligence this year. And he goes, come and see me. I almost fell off my chair, but it was like, he's like, yeah. And then he told the president that it wasn't that I was nagging him, but when I said I was going to call, I called, and it was the follow-up. And
Yeah,
setting out your client. Sorry.
great way to remember that, whether it's before the sale or after the sale. And that's a really good point to have, 10 to 12 touches after the sale. And continue helping, serving, giving, loving. And so the saying I like is fortune is in the follow-up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go back to like the very beginning of fear. And fear stops us, and just start it is our group motto. But somebody brought up, it only takes 6 seconds of courage. So for me, whether it's my sprint workouts, just starting, I'm actually taking cold showers after my hard workouts to reduce the inflammation, and it speeds up muscle recovery time. And it's really literally 2-3 seconds of getting in there, and then I'm okay. But it sounds horrible, doesn't it? But there's so many things that we're afraid of. Like in sales is one of those things. And then if we followed up 3 times, I guarantee you your mind's going to be playing anti-Jedi mind tricks on you. And it's going to say, oh, you don't want to bug this person. You don't want to have the slimy hair and the sunglasses, smarmy salesperson. But it isn't until, like, I've looked at sales curves and studies, and at 3 is where most people give up, 3 follow-ups. And the conversion ratio with 3 is maybe 5 or 7%. But when you get up into 8, 10, 12, then it starts going to 20, 25% and above. It's an exponential curve. And so you have to go well beyond where your brain tells you to stop.
Jim,
And
can I add something?
yeah, just one quick thing, because I want to reinforce what Venice and Simone both talked about, is adding value, help, and the money will follow. So if I read an article and I think of River, I'll just send a link to that article and say, hey, I thought of you, you were asking about blah, blah, blah. Or, this is something you do really well with your clients, and I thought you might appreciate it. So throughout the day, little phone calls or texts or emails, those are follow-ups.
Yeah.
Like Simone asking about a soccer game, not in any way thinking, that was going to become a sale after 8 years. It's just like, you never know. So don't listen to your brain. Listen to Venice and Simone. And I'm sorry, Corinne, you had a comment, right? Or question?
I actually was just going to sort of dovetail on something that all of you have noted on, in that instead of being from the seller's place, which is where we're coming from, to be on the opposite side. And I've had people say, when we check in with them, when we follow up with them, like you're saying, after the 3rd time, that quite possibly people start to think, wow, they actually care about me, instead of, oh, is this just checking in because you need your sale or whatever. It sort of flips the relationship around, in that you appear to be and are genuinely concerned, whether it's about that soccer game or whatever. So it just sort of dovetails on what you were saying.
Beautiful. Easter, did you have something? Your hand's up in the participants area.
Yeah. Well, one, I just want to say that was awesome, you guys. I really enjoyed it because sales is everything, really, and we're all in some way selling ourselves. So, and I think for me, my where I really trip up in it is the follow-up. So I just got a CRM, which I'm hoping is going to really help in my follow-up, to remind me who I'm following up with. But I have a question about it, like how, when do you actually introduce your business, and when do you, and every time you're doing this follow-up, like say, for example, Jim, because I love sending things to people that I'm like, oh yeah, this might, that's what I do a lot. but I don't follow up with them. So if anybody, if either of you want to suggest like what way that I can actually follow up with them, like when would be a good time? When do you stop following up? When do you introduce your business?
Yeah, I can start with that. And as a resource, if you guys go to peakbusinesscoaching.com, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's either tools or resources. I have a sales tracking spreadsheet that you guys can steal and use. So if you don't have a CRM or don't have a good system, just having a spreadsheet, with the name, the contact information, and then what are your follow-ups? It could be a phone call, it could be a text, and just by putting the date in the box, where on the sequence of your follow-up, you can look at it every week or every couple of weeks and see, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to that person in 2 months. I got to reach out. I know that doesn't answer your question, but I wanted to throw out that tool that I've created for everybody, and it's worked well as a simple solution.
Okay.
And I think Simone talked about, like networking and wearing logo wear. So that, boom. And if anybody needs logo wear, reach out to Stacy. She can help you out. And not saying so much what you do, or I'm a business coach. Like that's boring. So making a statement about the results that people get, like Simone, I think you wrote down, I'm the oil that smooths out the processes for people's businesses, or so it doesn't answer the question. It's short, but it builds curiosity. And then they might say, well, what the heck does that mean? And then I turn it around on them and ask questions about them and their business. And ultimately, what we want is we want to find a challenge, a problem, a frustration that they have. And if we can't solve that for them, then we can give a referral to another one of our people in our Rolodex or contacts. And if they do have something that we can help them with, then we say, oh, I'd love to learn more about your business and yourself and get to know you. Would you like to have coffee? So we do introduce our business early on, and sometimes it might take several iterations. As a guy and kind of a pushy, results-oriented person, I used to think I would go to networking events and get sales. So, not a humble admission.
How
But
many of those
but
proposals
what we
were-
really want is we want the opportunity to follow up. So
Yeah.
I used to tell people, one, don't give out your business card, get their business card. I mean, you can give out business cards, but I've given out hundreds, probably thousands of business cards and gotten 1%, less than 1% of people actually calling me. And so getting their contact information, building curiosity, just sharing your energy. Like, we're all super cool people. And like, I love you all. And if we're just ourselves and we get into that positive vibration, we're going to build curiosity and people are going to want to hang out with us. So that's not something that was necessarily in the presentations, but our vibration is a huge thing. And if we can get contact information and initiate some follow-up and find out something about them that we can follow up on, that's really the key. And it's about, while we're building that relationship in the follow-up process or in the one-on-one process as a follow-up, it's all about asking questions, open-ended questions. I love to ask, what do people do for fun? And sometimes it stumps them, like, well, I've just been working and, take care of my kids, but I get to know them as a person. I love the question, like one of my interview questions, you can be silly, you can be playful. One of my questions was, if, and this is when I was a chemical engineer and I was interviewing people, I would just ask them, if you if you were given $1 million, but you still had to work 40 hours a week, what would you do? What would you do? And one woman said she would be a clown. So, like, ask questions that get into their personality, and compassion and caring is really a key. I'm gonna jump from your question, River, if
Well,
that's helpful.
I think that you had you were going to respond. So I forgot your first name. Sorry.
Simone.
Simone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, please.
I was just going to make a couple suggestions that for follow-up, I never follow up when I want to follow up. I follow up when they tell me to follow up. And I find that's a really good rule of thumb. So when you're talking to them and letting them know that you're going to contact them this week for a coffee, that initial call is letting them know, do everything in your power to let them know that you have another contact for them or a referral for them, and you'll have a higher chance of meeting them sooner versus I just want to get together. And again, that's helping their business, but it's getting you in the door a lot faster than just, can we go for coffee?
Another example one of my mentors shared with me this week was by not letting them hire you, you can build trust incredibly fast. So for an example for me would be search engine optimization. Or anything that we have to offer, products or services, they're not going to be a perfect fit for everybody. So if I look at somebody's website and I look at the traffic and the demand and the competition, and I look at their budget and I see that that's not the best choice for them, and I tell them, I could do this for you, but I don't think it's in your best interest to hire me to do that. And you could offer another possible solution that you might offer within your product and service funnel. So that's a really key point. Another thing Venice talked about, having the money conversation. So it's really important if somebody is in pain or has a problem or a frustration that we can help them out with. It is our duty as caring human beings to make an offer. And if you're not comfortable with the money conversation, one thing that I like is say, this is what I would recommend for you. You said you wanted this, this, and this, and go use their words, their phrases, right, for what they want. And that builds trust. Neurolinguistic programming is taking their emotional nugget phrases where they get excited or they get upset, and using those in your replies to them when you make your offer. And then just ask them, how do you want to pay? When do you want to get started? So it's their choice, and it's just a little less pushy. So if some of you are uncomfortable, that's a great way to get started. The other thing I wanted to share, and it's related to this, is if people come up with, if they're feeling pain and they've had sustained pain or a problem or challenge, again, it's our civic duty as people with hearts and compassion to coach them to hire you. So if they say they don't have the time or they don't have the money, then part of dancing with objections is asking them, what's going to happen if you don't hire me? What's going to happen? What's the most likely future outcome? Is this going to get better? And you can ask things like, what else have you tried? How much money have you spent on this issue? And how long have you been working on it? I know I can help you. And I wouldn't be and you can just be transparent when it feels like you're being pushy, but what we're doing is we're coaching our clients when we dance with objections powerfully to get what they want and what they need and what they're getting in their own way of obtaining. So I think dancing with objections is really important. And
Jim, can I add one thing to that?
Please.
And it kind of goes back to River's initial question and sort of putting the whole process before the cart. And that is whether it's first thing in the morning or whether it's before you make that phone call or talk to that particular client, set an intention. If we are allowing ourselves to put an intention out there, kind of like the vision board, how would I like this conversation to go? Would I like, I would like to be able to find the opportunity to offer my help or whatever it is we're trying to get in there, but to set that intention even way before the meeting and the conversation to begin with. And if we get in the habit of that, results are usually pretty positive.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And I know we're running up against time, so I want to share my super exciting news. And I'm just so grateful for Venice and Simone. That was such a great session, and sales is so important. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the special announcement is, one, good news for me. I'm going to Sedona for a week for a spiritual retreat, and I'm so excited and blessed to be able to do that. That's the week of the 16th. That's the second Thursday of the month. And Brett Hoffstadt, who is an expert at book writing and publishing and studying market demand, is going to be presenting in my place. So mark your calendars for Thursday, November 19th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. And I'll double check the link, and I'm going to give Brett access to my account. So it'll be the same login, same information, and I'll send out a reminder as well. But this is huge for all of us. Books give incredible credibility. It leaves a legacy. So he's going to talk about how to come up with a book idea, how to do market research, how to actually finish the book, and how to publish the book. River, it looks like you had a question. You're muted.
I gotta go, but anyway, thanks for everything. Awesome. Looking forward to seeing what Brett has. Okay.
Yes,
ciao.
he's incredible, and he's not only trained as a rocket science, but he's taken that incredible brilliance and brought it to book writing and publishing. So, thank you, Brett.
Oh, a lot of science,
and I can't wait to see the recording.
A lot of scientists. We have all these science degrees. I know I'm in science.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you all for being on the call.